The basics in nutrition is understanding the feed that you're working with. Make sure that you work with the feed representatives, the feed dealers that handle the feed that you're purchasing that local feed from, and understand the protein values and why some of the protein varies from one bag to the next. For instance, Purina has a basic 16% protein pellet. And then it also has a show formula, which is 16%, and then it has a professional formula, which is 18% protein. Common mistakes being made when it comes to nutrition is not staying with the feed long enough to really know how it performs, and really not understanding their breeding program to know exactly what it is that their animals require, and what situations arise in terms of the environment that they're in, the environment that those rabbits are housed in, the climate that those rabbits are in because of the location in the country, and then when we start looking at the actual breed itself, how it responds to the various feeds, protein levels, energy levels, and all the other constituents that are in feeds as they are developed for rabbit growth. Make sure you understand just how much rabbit feed your animal is eating, how many ounces, and that's what we're working with is ounces to each of the rabbit versus a pound of feed or two pounds of feed, because the animals that we're dealing with are probably 2 pounds in mature weight on up to 14 or 15 pounds of mature weight. So there's quite a variation in terms of the size of rabbits again. So when we're feeding a Netherland dwarf, for instance, we may be only giving 2 to 3 ounces of feed a day versus a New Zealand that's going to eat 5 to 6 to 7 ounces a day. So weighing out that feed and knowing how much feed is in the container that you're actually using to scoop up feed each day to give to the rabbit is extremely important, so that there's a consistent amount of feed being offered to that animal throughout its life. And that's going to make a huge difference in terms of the quality animal that you produce, whether it's for a pet, whether it's for show, or whether it's for a commercial operation that's raising rabbits for meat. That amount of feed that you give to those animals is going to have a great influence on the performance of those animals and the health of the animals. If you go ahead and raise rabbits for a pet, for instance, that rabbit is probably going to be with you for a longer period of time versus the individual that it's raising show rabbits or commercial rabbits. And so that longevity of life for that animal becomes even more important to make sure that your nutrition program is sound. The health care of the rabbit really is very easy. They're animals that are in a cage and a wire floor, so they're rarely in contact with any of their manure, which can cause some health issues versus if they were in a wooden floor pen. They're not going to go ahead and be animals that have to be dewormed. They may have some issues with fur mites that can happen in a facility, and then there are some mild products that can be acquired through your local veterinarian to take care of those kinds of situations. And the biggest health issue with rabbits is respiratory, and all that comes back to is proper management in facilities. If you have the right kind of facilities and the right kind of ventilation, then respiratory issues are not going to be a problem in your rabbitry. And the other piece that influences respiratory problems or health issues is your breeding program. So looking at the breeding program, looking at facilities, looking at ventilation, those 3 areas are probably the most important areas that have an effect on health in a rabbit. The facilities that you have, the cleanliness of your facilities, the quality of animals that you put onto the show table, how well they do in the show really is a reflection of that particular breeder's commitment. And so it all follows through, it all ties together. It shows the kind of conviction that they have to work with a particular project, in this case raising rabbits. Really a reflection of that person's quality, of what that person would like to display out on the show table. It really says a lot about that person in terms of their organization, in terms of their discipline, and in terms of the commitment that they have to work with that particular project. And rabbits will reflect that kind of commitment that an individual has and the quality of person that they have by the kind of animals that are shown and put on the show table.